Welcome to Scale to Sell with Burton and Steve Burton. In this podcast, we empower business owners who are striving to win at work and life, yet feel confused and frustrated about growing their business, securing the best possible sale price, and exiting on their terms. We tackle this by implementing proven strategies for reducing risk, increasing retirement income, and mastering the business exit process. Join us on this enlightening journey where we debunk the myths of exit planning and provide the tactical and practical things every business owner needs to know. With Steve and Adam's extensive knowledge and insights from guest experts, we'll guide you through scaling your business, forming an effective exit team, and planning your exit so you can scale with the end in mind. Now, on to the show.
Hey there, entrepreneur. Welcome back to the Scale to Sell podcast. We're excited to have you for episode number 26, where we are talking about 7 ways to get entrepreneurs to think like owners. Now, Steve, I know in our conversations with business owners, we can think of case studies of examples of people telling us like, look, it's hard to get people that are motivated, that are wanting to do this work, that are doing more than just the bare minimum to get by, to stay in the job, to get the paycheck, whatever. How do we get people to think like owners and have that kind of business owner mindset where they're taking initiative, they're getting things done in a quality way that is actually helping us move the needle on where the business is going? I know that's been a struggle for the people that we've been talking to. What have you heard?
It's across the board. Whether it's a restaurant, you're worried about slow service, and you kind of understand, well, they're having a hard time just getting bodies in the door. So you can't get mad with the waitress or waiter that's waiting on you because they're understaffed. And it's true of airlines and hospitals, and every employer out there has been struggling. But how do you change that? The culture of what you expect. I think if we put it in our mind, that's our where we're at, then it sets that really low bar, and you're constantly living down to that low bar. Well, I don't like that. I like envisioning where I want it to be, and then put things into practice that will make it happen.
Well, it reminds me of like the sports teams. Like you've got a team that's good, but sometimes they go into a match that they know that they're expected to win, and they play down to the competition. Yep. Versus playing up to the better expectations. And so part of that, like you were saying, goes back to the culture that you're trying to develop. And how do we create a culture where there's a mindset shift of thinking like a business owner, of taking ownership of the task, of the project, to reach the goal of the company? And so we're going to talk about 7 different ways that you can implement these things, practical, tactical things that you can do in your business, regardless of small business, medium business, large, whatever the case may be, to get that type of mindset in the culture of your company. So number 1, share the vision and mission. Right? We've talked about this before, but it is critical to communicate why you do something, both in terms of like the overall what you do for the benefit of the customer, but also sometimes even the individual processes of why we do things a certain way in order to accomplish that mission.
I tell our own team, I'm a financial advisor. We deal with people's money. But even the person that's taken at the call center that's taking a call, respond to those people. Sometimes in their time of trouble, yep, anxiety, they've got something going on, maybe a loss of a spouse, loss of a job, or maybe something positive, and they really don't think that it's a big deal. No, it's a big deal. You're a part of what we do here, part of the customer service atmosphere, and everybody's important. And you set that kind of standard right there. And even a lower level job or perceived lower level job is they step up, and I love it when customers call in and they commend somebody for that good work. And I love passing it on. I love this one. I love that one. They gave me this. They went above and beyond what was expected. So I love that a lot. Just the vision and the culture of the whole team concept is important.
Well, it can feel like, especially if you're in the day-to-day where you're doing the same task over and over again, you can start to wonder like, okay, does this really make a difference in the grand scheme of things? But being a part of the team, if you don't have that position filled, if you don't have that service to the customers that you need, you're missing out on a key component of facilitating the work that is helping us achieve the goal of what we're trying to do for these clients. And so everyone's role matters, and their task, connecting it to that mission, can be huge. And part of that too is also, as an owner, sometimes we see where people don't really like to share information or what's going on, like the actual metrics of what's going on in the company. And there is a transparency that can be there that helps connect what you're doing in a tangible way with the numbers, right? Actually measuring what is being done and that output to what you're accomplishing. And you can see the change over time of the improvements that you're making, of what a better system or a better process can do to actually lead to growth in the company.
And letting that employee know.
Yeah.
It's important to you. It's important to the whole concept of whatever you're doing, whether you're a plumbing and heating company. That air conditioning unit went out on somebody and it's 90 degrees, and if they're having a bad day and something falls through the cracks and doesn't get serviced, or they just don't, your client on the other end doesn't think you care, it matters. And one lost sale leads to another one, and how much money does that cost you? It can be huge.
Cost you time, cost you reputation, cost you all sorts of things, right?
The value of your company.
Absolutely. So number 1, share the vision and the mission. Number 2, empower decision making. And this gets to the idea of, as business owners, we often like to take all the responsibility, all of the decision making, and keep that control for ourselves because we know what we would do with it in the operations of the business. But by granting autonomy, by granting the ability to get things done outside of you, the business owner, you're creating opportunities for the employees, the other team members, to take ownership of different aspects of the company, freeing you up to do other things and giving them the chance to shine and really take ownership of those things.
I like to micromanage until people prove to me that they can do just that.
It's a trust but verify type situation.
Trust but verify, look over their shoulder. But you know what? It's part of the ownership thing. People that are wanting to share the thoughts and have it respected. And anyway, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that. Give it a whirl and let's see how it works out. But so absolutely, you give people to run. And that increases the value of the business. And that takes the burden off of you. You don't have to be there at every decision-making process because it decreases the value if you have to be the ultimate one making all the decisions. And sometimes these employees come up with better thoughts or just things that you've never considered before. And I like having people that are forward thinking. Now, not every employee will do that.
Yeah.
Right. But your top tier people want to be part of something bigger, and that will make them feel like they're part of ownership right there, even if they don't have an equity stake in the business.
Absolutely. I remember this quote. The way that you described that reminded me, and I can't remember which person at Chick-fil-A it is, but they were giving a speech one time, and they were saying how they look at all sorts of other companies and how they do different things, and because they're always trying to make their process and their service of the customer better.
Yep.
And he said it this way, something I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the quote right in front of me. He was saying that we don't assume that we have the best way right now. And so the idea was, like, we look at Chick-fil-A as like, they're like a machine when it comes to their service, but they care behind it all. It's not just like, hey, order number 2, like, here's your order, whatever. It's much more personal than that. But operationally, they are very sharp. And yet their mindset is, we're not going to assume that we have the better way. We're going to keep looking and keep refining and keep improving. And it goes to that creativity, not always assuming that we're the ones that have the answers, but having employees who have proven themselves that they'll take responsibility, that they'll do the work, giving them the opportunity to speak into what's going on, to be innovative, and to solve the challenges of the company in maybe ways that we didn't think about. That's freeing and an incredible opportunity to add value.
No doubt. And, like recently they went to ordering online with an app, creating separate lines. It's a little chaotic at first, but the process is speeding up that turnaround time, making that customer experience better, more accurate. And they're constantly learning. I appreciate that. And it may have been an employee that came up with a thought, right?
Yeah, the mobile through is like my go-to right now. Everyone else can stay in the other line. I'm going through the mobile
around the
through.
other building. Yeah, do the app.
So number 3, tie compensation to results. This is a big deal, right? If you're going to expect or desire someone to act in a particular way, one of the key ways to do that is to reward that behavior. And part of that reward comes in the form of compensation. And when you have that feedback of what I do is tied to what I earn, it's a mindset shift. It's a game changer for employees rather than just, no matter what I do, I'm always going to get the same thing. So why try? Why push beyond and go further?
If you pay them an hourly wage, a lot of people show up, function well, do their job, maybe even stay late, but you really want to motivate them, hang those carrots out there for them, because if they're ambitious, they want to know, one, that they're respected. I know we're going to talk about that, and their ideas, their thoughts, like we were talking about, but they also want to be compensated. If I'm bringing value to the company, increasing the dollar amount, and I try to let them know, hey, we're doing well or we're struggling a little bit, but when we're doing well, they don't want to see the owner ride up in a brand new car and they can't pay their light bill.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in this day and time when we're recording this, where inflation and prices are still elevated. Even in normal times, hang it out there and make sure they understand this metric that if we succeed, you're going to succeed as well. And they'll be even more motivated going forward.
Absolutely. And there's a range of opportunities here in terms of what that looks like in terms of the compensation model, right? There's everything from different profit sharing. Hey, we reached this certain goal in this month or this quarter, and so here's what the bonus structure looks like based on the excess that was earned or things like that, all the way up to stock options and other types of involvement as well.
The higher they are up in the company and the more reward that you give them, you try to reward everybody at whatever level they're at and whatever part of that success was there. It's an investment. If you turn around and your profits increase by $100,000, $1 million, whatever it is, it makes sense to share it with the people that brought you and got you there, because they'll want to do it some more, right? Yeah. They want to do it again next quarter, next year.
And so they're being intentional about that, having a system in place to make that happen is a part of that, creating a culture of thinking
sharing
like mindset.
Sharing in on the profits, right? That's what we're doing. Sharing in on the success. Our success is not just because we're brilliant, we're hardworking, but also it's the people and teams around us. And or if you're ever going to exit that business in the future, you ever want to increase your multiple, make sure your teams, because they're not buying your brilliance, they're buying the people that get to stay behind to run your baby, right? Yeah. So it's important for profitability now and or exit strategies into the future.
Well, and just think about that perspective too, right? As the owner, if your company's doing well, you like the incentive of a pay increase, of bringing home more of that because of what the company was able to produce. It makes sense that others on the team that were a part of that success would enjoy that.
Stay late,
as well.
Get the job done. They will act like an owner when you treat them like one.
Absolutely. So number 1, share the vision and the mission. Number 2, empower decision making. Number 3, tie compensation to results. Number 4, create a culture of accountability. Now, all of these things kind of tie into one another in different ways, but this one is really important as talking about ownership of a particular task or project that's going on, and the idea of you are the one that is responsible for this thing to get done and reaching the different milestones along the way. So we often talk about with the certified exit planners, the CEPAs, 90-day sprints, 90-day cycles of improvement where you're focusing on 1 to 5 objectives for that period of time to grow your value. And one of the things that we look at are, okay, what are the things that we're trying to accomplish in this period of time? And what are the milestones? What are the things along the way that are going to help us to get there? And having those follow-ups along the way, okay, are we reaching those things? What are we missing that is either holding us back from making the progress that we're needing to reach these things? Or, hey, maybe this is going way better than we thought, and we might even be able to push this beyond what we originally envisioned that we could. But accountability is crucial here.
It is, and getting people bought into it. they want to step up in many cases. Sometimes there'll be things that happen, though, out of their control, right? Didn't get done. Something happened with a contract or piece of equipment or employee situation or something like crazy like COVID happening, right? And changes the mindset. But we want accountability. They will rise up to that, especially if the other things, recognition and other things, respect of their ideas and or compensation are tied into it. They want to be pushed a little bit to grow and grow and grow. In some cases, to elevate them within the company to another position, or depending on your company, another department, or maybe even running the thing for you one of these days so you can have some more time off to go enjoy your family, enjoy your life if you're not ready to fully exit the business anymore.
If you want to test how important this is, throw out a task and don't assign it to anyone and see if it actually gets done, right? Like more often than not, if it's not assigned to someone, the odds are good, unless you have a really strong company culture where you've just got some people that are going to take initiative and pay attention to those other things. That's going to be one of the things that slips through the cracks. Why? Because no one's owning it for that time. They aren't responsible, being held accountable for the completion of that task. This goes back to, and it's also why it's important to know your numbers and knowing what's going on in your company, because it's going to help you see how on track you are to reach those bigger milestone goals of sales and other metrics that you're keeping track of on a quarterly, yearly basis.
And you got to assign it to people that get things done, right? They get things done, so you assign it to them when it makes sense, when in the progression of whatever goal and you're trying to benchmark, you're trying to achieve, and you'll step up. There's some people that can just barely get their job done, but they're adequate at that job, right? But throwing a new task or project on them is probably not going to happen. You're probably going to have some key people in your office and you think you're throwing too much on them. Well, those guys are girls that want to step up and take part. But yes, accountability. I have a thing when I ask an employee something and they go, well, I don't know. And it's talking about a project or something, I don't know. Well, come back to me when you know. I want to know and hold them accountable for it. And eventually, after you coach them a little bit, most of the time they'll take ownership of it and step up. If there's a challenge, you want them to know they can come back to you. Don't hide things or just we're not getting it done and think we're going to, get on them or hold them back or whatever it might be. But you're there because they're helping the company succeed.
Absolutely. And that actually kind of takes us, segue right into number 5, provide training and development. So just like as business owners, we talk about things like leaders or readers, and we do that once a month in our Business Builder Thursday, where we share a book that we're reading and some of the action things that you can take immediately from that and start applying. Just like we have to grow in order to adapt and to solve the challenges that we're coming up against, the same thing's true of our teams. They're having to grow and develop their own skills. And so having those opportunities, whether that's through feedback, like what you were just talking about, of someone maybe not hitting a deadline like they should or not owning it in the way that they needed to, and coaching them along and helping them see what they needed and why that's important and helping them grow in that way. Or maybe it's a specific skill that they're needing to learn for the job that they are now a part of. That's a big deal and an opportunity for them to, when you invest in them, oftentimes you see that reciprocated and that they take on that challenge and own it because you're pouring into them something, because you see the quality of their character, the desire for them to learn and to grow and to try new things. And so there's an awesome opportunity there as a part of the growth that we can have in our teammates that encourages them to think like business
Classes,
owners.
certifications, you're investing in the money in them to grow. They want people that want to be on the top line, that want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And if you show them that, hey, I think this would be great for you, and we'll pick up the tab. Yes, there may be an expense. It might be minor, might be major, but you're willing to invest some money into them. And most of the time, they'll reward you by bringing that knowledge back to the company, making them more valuable to them, and hopefully keeping them on your team a whole lot longer time, because they're not down the street looking for somebody else that will respect them, that will train them up, that will invest some money in them. They're like us, even though they may not be actual technical owners of the business. Some of these people are entrepreneur minded, but don't want to step out and take on that risk of starting the business. And if you allow them to grow, I think they will become a much more valuable part of the team, whether it's through technical or credentials or whatever it might be, extra classes on whatever it might be, becoming a master electrician, master plumber, whatever, and you help them get through those classes. I'll afford them some time to do that, and again, go through the expense of covering the cost.
Well, it's definitely an encouragement too, that you see that in them. I've seen that, in my time as a teacher, when I was in the classroom, when you would express how you see someone grow or encourage them in a certain way, and they live up to that potential because they now see themselves in a different light than maybe what they saw before. And they step up and own that area in maybe ways that they hadn't before. Number 6, celebrate and recognize ownership behaviors. And this is one of the awesome opportunities. You were referencing this, kind of foreshadowing where we were going to get to, that when you call out behaviors in a good way and recognize people for acting like an owner in the different responsibilities they have, whether it's in the care for a customer and the client experience, whether it's how they performed a particular function that they're responsible for, you're encouraging others to think and do in that line of operation of going through and thinking like an owner, of acting like one, and encouraging them to do the same, because you're rewarding that behavior with recognition. You're encouraging others to do that.
People want to step up. People, they get beat down amongst all kinds of other things in life. Shouted out in traffic. The kids are dragging on them at home, and you're not being respected. Some people will hang around and do more if they're acknowledged through just, hey, you did a great job on this, and that pat on the back right there, so to speak, that acknowledgement. Yes, you got to compensate them. Yes, you got to do all the other things that we've talked about, but that awareness that they know that you've seen it and respect, not just calling them out when they messed up, but acknowledging that success that they've had too, even sometimes when it seems minor. I really like pointing out where, again, going back to the customer service people, where we get a call and somebody goes, hey, they're a great pleasure. They really looked out for me. I love your team. I love it when people call into our financial services companies, goes, I love your team and how responsive they were to us. Well, that's down the line. It's not just me. Yeah. I got people there to keep me on the straight and narrow in my crazy schedule, right? So I love all that acknowledgement.
I was reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, who was at one point co-owner of the #1 restaurant in the world, 11 Madison Park in New York. And so they're known for their service. And one of the things they do at the meal that they have with their team before every opening is they have this time where people share stories of other people's examples of how they went out of the way. And sometimes it's their own stories of how they went out of their way to do something to just wow the customer, whether it's the guy parking the cars, to the people serving the tables, to the cooks and the chefs in the kitchen. Like, it is a part of their culture to recognize, to celebrate, and to encourage that type of behavior in there. And so no wonder that's what they get out of their teammates, because that's what they're celebrating. That's what they're pointing to.
Is the food better? Perhaps. But sometimes people will go through, just because of the atmosphere and all that service related type. Yeah. Maybe the food is just as great as a restaurant down the street, but they come back to the one that gives them the best service and respects them as a client walking in the door as to whatever their needs are. So absolutely.
Absolutely. Number 7, our last one, foster a sense of entrepreneurship. Actually, there's a word, I love how business and people, social media, whatever, we come up with new words for things that are just whatever. Intrapreneurship. So the idea of like, okay, you're not the owner of the company, you're not the entrepreneur, you're the intrapreneur. You're inside of the company, but you're taking ownership of your project or the department that you're in. You're owning it, and encouraging people, even to the sense of what they say, failing forward, like willing to take the right kinds of risks, because you're making bold steps to try to reach your goals. And you may not always succeed, but you're growing and you're moving forward in the right direction in a way that is very much like the owner of the company.
And all these steps that we talked about, and whether you're trying to make your business and make your life better, because so you don't have to be there every second of every day to solve every problem, every issue. These people that have skill sets, that have developed those skill sets, that have that ownership, even though they don't officially have ownership of it, it just makes your life better. It makes you more profitable. And when you go to sell the business, people go, I don't know, but somebody's walking in to buy the business. If you can get another, instead of getting 4X and sell 5X, 6X, 8X, somebody's going to pay you because you've created that spirit of intrapreneurship right there. I love that term right there, getting people bought in and acting like owners, even though they don't technically, and beyond that, and you might even have this conversation. So in many businesses today, whether it's a roofing company or dentistry business or whatever it might be, some of these people, you probably, if you ever do sell it, carve out some of the money if you can, and carve out some of the money and reward them people beyond that. And because you set up this process, and if they're not ready for retirement yet, one, they feel like they're bought in. The people hopefully coming in see that value in these keeping and retaining these teams, and don't want to lose that because their investment can suffer greatly. So I don't know if I'll ever sell my businesses, but if I were to, there are some people inside the business that I would try to take care of as best I can, because some of them have been around for a long time. I don't see turnover in our businesses. I just don't see it. And that wasn't always the case back in the day. We've developed so many skills over the years that have helped us hire and retain, attract, and people don't want to leave. Not because we pay them the most money on the planet, it's because we try to pay them a fair wage. We give them time off, recognition, extra bonuses if we deserved it, if the company's doing well. But anyway, so all these things come into play.
So just to remind ourselves of the 7 things that we talked about here: share the vision and mission. Number 2, empower decision-making. Number 3, tie compensation to results. Number 4, create a culture of accountability. Number 5, provide training and development. Number 6, celebrate and recognize ownership behaviors. And number 7, foster a sense of entrepreneurship. And the thing that we'll end with today is just the idea of, no matter where you're at in your company, a key place to get started is with evaluation of your business. That's going to tell you a lot about the health and the value of what you currently have, and looking at areas in which we can help cultivate a culture of business ownership mindset, a business ownership mentality amongst your team, can really change a lot of that and can help boost your value when it comes to the intangible capital of your business. So if you need one done, which, by the way, that's pretty much everyone out there, because most business owners don't actually have one done in the most recent 1 to 2 years, go to scaletosell.com/discovery, scaletosell.com/discovery. Click the link in the show notes below. And make sure that you fill that out. Say that you want the free evaluation. We'd love to be able to have a conversation with you, get you connected with our teammates, our experts in the M&A industry who do these all the time for business owners. So helpful to have that information, to know where to get started and move forward in that process.
At no cost to you, right? This is where thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and our team will do it at no cost to you, just because you're listening to us here on the podcast.
See, all the benefits. So again, scaletosell.com/discovery, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until then, keep scaling.
Thank you for listening to Scale to Sell with Adam Burton and Steve Burton. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.scaletosell.com or give us a call at 757-313-4080. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Scale to Sell. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing, tax, legal, or other advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding your personal or professional plans. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.